Hey everyone, and welcome to Crafted by a Queen. Today we're going to be doing a painting of the Boba Fett helmet. I have a printout here just as a general outline of the shape of the helmet to help guide us as we create this painting. These are my notes here, just color references for my purposes. And so today we're going to be using acrylic paint. I have 5 colors. Today I have, this is the brand I'm using. I have white, bright red, bright blue, bright yellow, and black. I also have a variety of brushes. They're all flat tip. I recommend the one for this painting. I'll probably be using the 3/4 inch and 2 baby brushes. Then I have I'm working on a 16 by 20 canvas. I got my cup of water, so I'm gonna go and put my brushes in there. I have some paper towels over here for whenever we dry off the paint and brushes. And then I have my paper plate here ready for some mixing. So I'm going to start off with the background. I'm envisioning some sort of fiery background. So I'm gonna grab some yellow, and I'm gonna grab some white, and I'm gonna grab some red. So the first color I want to do, I'm going to use my 3/4 brush. This is probably referred to like a medium brush. I'm going to dry it off some. And I'm going to do kind of a buttery yellow first. So we're going to take some yellow, and we're going to take some white, make it kind of like a soft yellow. And so the helmet's going to be in the middle here. I'm thinking about maybe the size of my hand a little bit bigger, so maybe like here to here. So I kind of want to leave this space untouched so it's easier for my colors, but it's okay if my yellow overlaps because Boba Fett's helmet is green and it takes some yellow to make green, so it's all fine. And I'm going to go vertical strokes to give it some movement. So I'm just going to paint this butter yellow right on the canvas, kind of all around. I'm not gonna go too far to the sides because I'm gonna add multiple colors to make this more of a fiery scene background. And I'm just going to drag this out. I'm not going to worry too much in the lower area because in the middle, because I'm going to probably add a little bit of a bust, but just in case I don't, I'm going to go ahead and just make this that fiery color because the colors of his armor, if we paint it, will be a darker color. So I'm going to just go ahead and bring this one down to the edge. Now that we have this white and vibrant yellow, I'm going to add a little bit of white spatches to kind of bring out some highlights in that yellow. And we'll be adding more of that later as well. So next I want to do an orange. So I'm just going to mix this red and yellow. Move it over. You're going to want to have kind of a fire orange. So you want to make sure it's not too red yet because we will be adding red. If you want it to be a little bit brighter or a softer orange, you can add some white to it. If you want a more harsh red, you add a little bit more red to it. But I want kind of a medium regular orange color. I think that's pretty good. And we're gonna just add it to the edges of the yellow. And it's okay if we got some blend action, that's really good. That'll help with the transition. And I will be going back over to not make this a abrupt change of color there. We'll be shading it in more. Bring that all the way to the top. Remember to just keep your strokes going vertical up and down. That way you don't have crisscrosses all throughout your edges here. Before I go back in, I'm going to just drag this orange together with the yellow. Make more orange because I ran out. This paint is a great paint, however, it doesn't spread as easily as I'd like it to. Some reason I keep using a lot of paint. That is the only downfall of this paint, but I love it. It is easy to blend colors with. So now I'm going to make my way down to the bottom. Doing a little blend before I grab more in the orange. And to get that smooth stroke, and we're gonna go in with some white as well to help soften that blend. But I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit while the yellow is still wet. Now you don't want to over blend it, otherwise your yellow and orange will blend together, and that will that's not what we want. We want the colors to be separate still. I did pick up a little bit of red here, that's okay, because we are going to be going in with some red soon. But I'm trying to just stay orange as possible right now. Because it's easier to cover up the orange with red as it is a darker color than it is to put orange over on top of the red. Okay, I'm not even gonna wipe off my brush. I'm just gonna dab into the white some. I'm gonna go put some spotches over these areas I want to soften the blend with. And I'm going to just gently brush it out. It helps reactivate the paint if it's dried some. And if you want, you can grab some more of that yellow you made If you feel like you covered up too much yellow, like here, and you just want to bring it up gently. And then you can see here, you got some yellow back in here. So if you want more yellow in some spots, you can do that. You can also wait till it dries to make it a more defined color instead of it being as blended. It is up to you. Next, I'm gonna go in with just straight red, not even cleaning off my brush still. And I'm just gonna go along these edges here. This is a thin canvas, so if you have the thick border canvas, then you can paint along the edges as well. Now, since his helmet's green, this fiery background will really stand out. So we're just going to apply it all around. And I'll be adding red kind of in there because fire has some depth to it. So I want to give it a little bit more life. And then once we get to those edges, kind of just bring that red into it so it blends without losing that orange. Drag out that color. Stand up if you have to, take a few steps back, see where you might want to add some red. Like I want to add some red here. So I'm just going to work that in. And it's okay if it looks like it might be kind of scattered because his helmet's all beat up. So it's okay. He's taken some hits in the battles. And it's okay if there's some red scattered throughout. And the nice thing is red and yellow make orange, so it's not going to be too drastic of a change. Now I have some patches here, so what I can do is add some white over it to help with that blend, soften that up. And don't forget his helmet's going to be here, so it's going to affect some of that. If you feel like your yellow's lost, or if I want to splash some in the edges, this is when you can make more of that yellow, that buttery yellow. You can go straight yellow if you want. That's fine as well. I just like soft yellow colors. So here I want to add some more of that yellow. So that is a little bit too too white. So I'm going to just add straight yellow on it to it. And I feel like my orange was lost now, so I'll add some back to that area. Going to make this a little bit more blended. And I'm going to make some more of that soft yellow there. If you feel like your colors are getting too blended together, just stop and let it dry, and then you can go back in there. You can probably clean off your brush. So like right here, I'm gonna clean off my brush to get some of that red off, so that yellow can stand out more. And just gently brush over. Now we're gonna let this background dry completely before we continue, but I'm going to discuss kind of how we're gonna be going about doing this helmet, since it does look, when you look at a picture, it can look overwhelming. So I printed out a outline of the helmet just to help better visualize what we're gonna be doing. And if you look, it's very symmetrical, it's very geometrical, so there's a lot of simple shapes we can do. We're going to be focusing first on this first outline, and then we'll be working on this T and these slanted lines. So I am going to change this instead of a straight line to a curve because this helmet's curved in the forehead area. I've noticed some versions had some ear sides, and then of course we have to do this. And there's different versions if you pull it up on Google, how you want to do that as well. There's also, I'm going to add some battle scars to his helmet. That's optional for you as well. If you want his helmet in good shape, then that's perfectly fine. It's your painting, you can do whatever you want. If you don't want a fire background, there's also that neutral color. He is in a lot of photos with a like blue smoke kind of thing, and so you would do the similar painting style. You can start off with a very light blue in the center where the yellow is, and then expand it to a medium blue and then a dark blue. And then if you want to really add a like nighttime feel to it, you can do a semi-light blue, and a black blue, or just black, and bring that in together and give it more of a night scene shade vibe. This is more of I wanted a fiery, vibrant, ready for battle kind of feel. So I'm gonna move this over for now because we are going to be focusing more on some greens, but we are going to be using red and yellow again, so I don't want to discard this. And I'm going to just grab another plate, and I'm going to fan off my painting with an extra plate to help speed up the drying process. And how you can tell your painting is dry, you will be able to, well, you can touch it. Mine's still a little wet in these new spots I added over. But if you look at it at a side, you can see if it's shiny. If it's shiny, it means it's still wet. So I do have a lot of dry area, but I do notice this one spot right here that I did a fix up on. It needs a little bit more work. And if you realize your helmet's not going to be as big as you thought it was, and you realize, oh no, this spot here is not as covered up as I thought it was going to be, you can always go back in later and you will just add kind of a, you can start off with like a orange or yellow, depending on what color you want there to be emphasized, and you can add that other second color, the yellow. So we start with yellow, and you want it to be more orange, you add the yellow first and then the orange, and then blend it out together, and that way you can continue on that patterned look we have going on. So it's almost dry. I have all of this dry except this little area here, so I want that to be dry before we continue on. I am going to be doing his shoulders a little bit. I don't know how much of a bust I'm going to be doing yet. So we'll get there when we get there. It's almost dry, guys. All right, so I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna get some black. Just a little bit. Don't need too much, maybe a little more. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably need more. I already have a good bit of white, so I'm going to grab one of my baby brushes, This one is number 2. I don't know if you are particular about that. I just call it a baby brush. I'm gonna dry it off. I'm gonna grab some white. I'm gonna make kind of a light gray. So we want a lot of white. Dab of black. Ooh, maybe too much. Okay, here we go. It's gonna be almost like a silver gray. It's kind of what we're going for here. You can use a bigger brush to help speed up the mixing process if you want. But I want to not waste as much paint. So we have a lot. Okay, so it's kind of like a silver gray, light gray. That way, when we paint over it, it's just not as in the way. So I'm gonna take some of that and I'm gonna try to find the middle. I kind of want 3/4 down. So I could have brought the yellow up all the way up more. Too late now. I'm gonna put a dot there. That's gonna just a marker there so I know where the center is. And the first line we want to do is that chin, and we're going to go up to the top. So I'm going to draw just a straight line, maybe 1.5 inches. Yeah, it's about 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to make those side V's. So I want it to kind of end up here. So what I can do is it goes up a little bit and to the right, add a dot, connect the dots. Go to the other side. So this one's where it gets, when you do the second side, it can be a little bit more tricky. So it's in this area height. And we use to the crown. Let's see if we get the right angle. That's about right there. Maybe a little higher. And if you do feel like you made the mistake where the dot's supposed to be, it's okay. You can, after it dries, you can go back in like how you would correct the area you don't like. But I'm sure your picture is great. Okay, next we're gonna go up. So we're just going to go straight up. We don't wanna go all the way up there because we still gotta add that top of the helmet. So I am thinking around here. Then we're going to do a curved top. So I found it easier when I did the kind of like eyebrow line, I want to call it, before I did the top, because it's easier to do like an oval shape. So so where this line is, I'm gonna go a little down and I'm going to curve it so I go through that. Gotta add some shape to the helmet. Then I'm going to do my top of the helmet. So if you look at the picture, it's almost like 1/3 taller. So it's gonna end up right here, I think. So I'll put a dot there, maybe here. So I'm gonna do like a semicircle right here and hit that dot. So it might be easier for you if you do 1/2 at a time. It's pretty good. Okay. And try to make the sides symmetrical. I think that's pretty good. And it's okay if the top's a little flat. This helmet's dinked up, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So next I'm gonna start at this corner here and kind of make a little whoosh mark on it. It's kind of like his cheekbone. It doesn't connect to anything except that line at the bottom. And I'll do the same thing on this side, so it goes around here. Now that I have the other side, you know, you kind of know where you want it to end up at. Then we're going to do the black T. So we're gonna start kind of in the middle here. And we kind of want to bring it, we want to leave room for the eyes. So this is the top of the T. So it might be best to go ahead and draw that. So it goes out as far as this line here. So I'm going to put dots there at equal height. The top line is flat. So I'm just going to draw a straight line. And then it gets skinnier then wider. If you want to do more rectangle shape like this outline does, you can. I'm going to be doing more of like a curved look to it. And if you don't like the curved look, since it is curved, then you can always widen it to make it that box look. Once you get around that middle area, when it starts widening up, then you're going to bring that down and connect the dots. Don't worry, we're going to be doing a lot of blending, a lot of painting over. These are just lines to help guide us with our colors as we get ready to paint the helmet. Okay, I think we got the shape done. So you don't have to wait for the helmet to dry for this part. We're gonna start with the darker colors on the outside and work our way in. Because you saw how overpowering the dark can take over the lighter color. So I wanna start on the darker colors. That way we can always blend it into the darker color. So I'm gonna wash off my baby brush. And I'm gonna grab a little bit bigger baby brush because I still want it small because we're gonna be doing some smaller shading areas. So let's see here. So if we look at his helmet area, this is green. So you know what, let's just color code this. Let's grab some blue for the green. And I do have a bright blue, so since we're gonna do more of a darker green, we're gonna get a green first, and then we can always add a dash of black to it. So I'm gonna be trying to get a more of a like army green than like a bright green. So I'm gonna grab some yellow from my other plate. We're gonna need a lot of green, so grab a decent amount of yellow. And I'm gonna add some blue. So a lot of yellow, guys, and just like a dash of blue, and I get this beautiful green. It's a little bit on the lime side. So if it is like lime green, add a little bit more blue. A little blue goes a long way. Then I'm going to grab the tiniest little black and just add that in. It just darkens it a little bit, which is what I want. Maybe add a little bit more black. Barely anything on that. There we go. We're starting to get there. All right. So let's get this. So this is green. This is green. And then we got black. So this is black, this is black. And then this is red. So there we go. There's our colors. I'm gonna rinse that off now. So as you can see on the paper, this is actually a good thing to have as well. So the green is still a little bit too bright for what I want. So I'm gonna add a little bit more blue, I think, and then a tad more black. It's not quite where I want it. But you gotta be careful not to add too much blue, because then it will turn into like a green blue, and I don't want that. I mean, it'd be cool, but that's not what I'm aiming for. Just a teeny little black. There we go. I think we're getting there now. Yes, that looks much better. Okay. So now that we have our green, we're gonna be painting, guys. So going to go ahead and add in some of this. And we are gonna be adding multiple shades. So you can cover up that line you used to outline the head. And it's okay if a little bit bleeds out, because it kind of looks like some of that fire, that white. But if you don't want any of that to go, you can cover your thing entirely. And there is a line, so yeah, that black, we'll want to keep this line visible, because we will be needing that for the black reference. So on his helmet, it kind of looks like it goes all the way over in like a curve, following that curve we have. And I will be outlining his helmet, I think, with black, because that just emphasizes the helmet and separates it from that fire and not get blended in. So then we're going to do the other side. And we want to kind of paint in the curve of the helmet. So that's why I'm kind of starting at the bottom and just working that cheek area and not going every direction. So we still want to maintain the flow of the helmet. We will be adding a darker shade here and some other colors as well, but I do think we might need a second coat with this brush at least. And we're gonna go ahead and paint the top. Since that's such a large area, I'm going to keep this small brush there for that second coat, but I am gonna use a slightly bigger brush to help speed that process up. And I might, now that I have that there, I might actually just paint with this brush and not this one. It's just too tiny, I think. Because then you can apply the paint more thick and it will cover up that bottom and you won't have to go in with a second coat really. So with the head though, after I get this outline in there, the helmet kind of flows with the top of the head. So I'm going to just bring that up in that kind of motion. And then pull it towards that center in the back and round that off. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go back here. Apply the paint a little bit more thickly. Really want to cover that back color. Okay, I'm going to add a touch more black now. Oh, that was too much black, I think. It's okay. I will just add more blue and yellow. Or that's still a nice green. Yeah, that's still good. So now I'm just going to blend from the edges because that's where the light's going to not be as present. This is going to help bring some depth to that helmet chin. And since this does stick out, I'm going to do just a little bit there. And then the back of the helmet, we will add some of that darker shade as well. And I'm just adding spots to it. That way I can drag it out. I'm gonna wipe off that brush some and pull that lighter color into it some, and just make the flow of the helmet how I want it to be. Okay. Then we're gonna clean off our brush. We're gonna add the red. We're just gonna take some red. We're gonna get a scoop of black. We want kind of a rusted red. That was way too much black, I think. We'll add a little bit of yellow to soften that up. Now that looks brown. So let me just make a new spot. So we're gonna get some red, a teeny dot of black at a time. Maybe I'll add some of that in there. All right, I think that's gonna be as good as I'm going to get it. And along his cheekbone here is red, and then we have black left. So we're just gonna start at the bottom here. Still following that shape of the helmet. Going to outline where this color is going to be. been going in that up and down motion. Okay. Now I'm going to take a smaller brush. Probably not the super tiny brush, that bigger baby brush. Wipe off, get all the paint off that we had on it. Dry it. Then we're going to add our black, because we're going to give the other colors some time to dry. So the middle here is black, and then we're going to be adding the outline between the colors and outline of the head to help it stand out and not look so blended together. So this is where you'll want to decide if you want it to have that curved look or if you want it to look more boxy. If you feel like the black went over too much, we have some of that red still, so you want to wait for that to dry, and then you can go back over. So he does have some chin marks that is black here, so we're going to paint. Let's go ahead and do the outline first. You might want to use your super baby brush on this. I kind of want it to have a little bit of thickness personally, so I'm just going to use this same brush, but maybe not push as hard. You can add some curve to the side now, so it doesn't look like a total straight edge at the end or corner. And then we do want the sides to match. So since that one was a little bit down, and he does have a thicker black spot here, I'm going to go ahead and create that now. So we're just going to continue that line up all the way. and then try to make the sides match. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add his ears, kind of. That just is this a little thicker, comes out a little bit, and it kind of stops here. So I'm just gonna make this a little thicker. And then we're gonna go ahead and add his antenna. Kind of just comes up from right here. And we're gonna have it stop a little bit above his helmet. And then the shape of the top gadget here, we're gonna make kind of a rectangle square. Then we're going to curve it, add a straight line and down. And then some pictures have a small little rectangle there. So I'll just add that and color it in. I'm going to switch over to my baby brush, my super baby brush, and I'm going to just fix this red area here. So it looks like my paint still might be a little bit too wet, but that's fine. So we do want it to give kind of a battle vibe. So we want to add actually some black to it, but I want it to be a little bit watered down. And I do want to be able to have a little bit, I don't want that much black on the brush. I do want it to be a little bit watered down, but not, you don't want it dripping. So I am just gonna like dab the brush off, grab a little bit of black, dab the brush off, and we're just gonna go with the flow here. So I'm gonna just sweep that black into that green so it looks almost like a fade. This is where we're gonna add our shadow colors. So it's kind of like a dry brush technique. I'm just gonna pull some of that black in there. And then we'll go back over with the black one more time to give it that more defined look. So I grab some black, I dab it off, pulling it up, but you don't want to put too much pressure. You want it to be light. You're just adding some depth to the helmet. If it feels too dry, it might be. And I am gonna add a little bit more of that green back in there because I feel like I lost it a little bit. Then I'll be adding some more kind of on the edges here. Still following that brush stroke pattern. And if he has a dink in his helmet, that's fine. That means that there might be some shadow in there. So I'm gonna add some shadows to where it might have been scuffed up some. And we're gonna add some white over those scuff marks. So if you feel like you lost too much red, just grab that red back, paint over it, and blend that out a little bit. If it's still too much black, then you need to wait for it to dry a little bit and then add some of that back in. I'm gonna add some more of that black on the side there. And at the bottom. Okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and fix those black spots because they are dry now. I want that to be a smooth look. Okay, now we're gonna add some white highlight and some of the battle scars. So we're gonna go to that silver gray we had. I'm gonna make it a little bit darker. We don't want it to look white to our black that we have. So it's gonna kind of be like a dark silver almost. There we go. And I'm still with my little baby brush. And I'm going to add, this is the highlight on some of the black. So we're gonna add a small highlight here. Maybe along here, just gently. Along the side of his ears. It doesn't have to match. The sun can be hitting it in different angles. So anywhere there's black, I'll add some of this dark gray to it, especially on this area here, because this juts out. But I don't want it to be symmetrical here. You got to figure out where you want your light source to come from. And then I am going to add kind of a reflective light here. Down there. Okay. Now we're gonna grab some white. I'm gonna use this bigger baby brush still. Dry it off good. And actually, I am gonna grab some more of that gray and put it over where my battle marks are gonna be. Depending on how brave you want to be, you can put it, I know he has a scar like right here. You can put that there. I'm just gonna make a really big dent here because I know he has one along this side. And I think that's all the dinks. I'll maybe put one here too. Then without cleaning it off again, I'm just gonna go in with some white. I'm gonna dab it off a little bit. I'm gonna just kind of add it to the center and fan outwards. So we want that point of contact that was hit to just really be out there and we can see it. But I think that's too much paint on my brush still, so here we go. And it can go in kind of like a circle motion, oval, because it might be like a bullet hole. Oops, I didn't grab any. And that's too much. There we go. And then I am going to brush that off real good. Grab some white, and we're gonna add a little bit more highlight here. Okay. We're gonna let that dry for a little bit. But not too long. So I'm going to kind of blend this out now. I'm gonna add some more shape to it if I want it to be a bullet wound and drag that out. Maybe there's a skid mark. Okay, I'm going to go back over. I don't want that white there anymore. I think that's fine without it. Okay, now we're going to add, you can add some more, oops. You can play with this as much as you want. You can add white, you can add for reflective, you can add more of that gray back in if you don't want it that bright. And maybe this one, let's dry it off some. A little dark. What if this had a skid and it just hit them there too. So you can just play around with this, make it your own. And I'm going to add just a little bit of white. Brighten that area up. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna grab our smaller of the bigger brushes. I'm gonna grab a new paper towel. And we're going to add his shoulders and a small bust. I'm not gonna do too much of a bust. So let's go in with this gray. If you like the head just as it is, then you can fill in this any white you have. But we're gonna start around here and kind of just go there. And I'm gonna just do a faded area. So his vest is multiple colors. So he has a cape around here. So I'm just gonna do a dark gray. And then I gotta make sure we make that black outline of the helmet more defined again. And his armor comes around here, kind of following that chin. And now we're gonna add his green armor. So I'm gonna need more of that green, so I'm gonna do a lot of yellow. Some blue. More blue. A dab of black. And we're going to kind of just drag it down. And blend it off. And I'm not worried about the background shining through. I kind of want that to happen. That way it'll blend into the background a little bit better. But I also don't want it to just be a straight line there. So now I'm going to add some yellow. in this area where there's supposed to be some yellow. I'm gonna clean off my brush some more. And so there's some red in here as well on accident, but I kind of like that. I kind of want to bring this background back to the front so that way it can blend in with that green some. So I am going to need more yellow. I'm going to dab it yellow, kind of where the yellow is supposed to be with this background. Looks like I picked up more of that red on accident, but it's okay. And just bring that into the green some. That way it kind of just goes with that background. If you want more of that yellow to shine through, you just add more yellow. And I'm gonna add some yellow kind of almost further than where I want it to be because I want it to blend into that orange nicely as well again. And it's okay if his jacket has some yellow highlights. It just makes it a lighter green. And it might be because of the light shining on him. I am gonna add some color into that cape. So I'm gonna go ahead and make an orange real quick again. Kind of that fiery orange. And I'm gonna dab it where I want the orange to shine through. Wipe off some of that excess. Kind of just blend that into it. Blend it into that yellow. Drag it into his armor if you want. And then you want to make sure it blends into that yellow once again like we did in the beginning. I'm gonna clean off my brush because I did pick up some green in that. I don't want the green in the background as I get to the edge. So I'm gonna add some more orange before I go to that red. Then I'm gonna go in with that red. And blend that down to the yellow almost. Now I'm gonna add some shade to his cape. So I'm going to do that like kind of dry brush technique. I'm gonna grab some black, dab it on the paper towel, and kind of just, whoops, still too wet. Just drag it in there with the flow of how the cape's going to be. We want to make a definitive separation with the cape some and his shoulder. Now I'm going to drag that black out. Kind of what we did with the helmet. gonna do the same thing to his armor. Just gonna drag some of that out. Because it is his armor, so there's gonna be some scuffs on it. And then I did notice I lost some of that outline on the helmet. Just gonna touch that up and look at it one more time. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more shadow at the top of his helmet here, and a little bit more here. Add some dirt to his battle marks. I'm just scraping that black off my brush, so that way the shine marks can really shine through. I noticed this is not as blended as it should be, but after that, I think we will call this it, and then you'll sign your name and it'll be all yours. Just make sure you blend it to the bottom. That way it doesn't look like you know, painted it twice like we did, but just drag it to the bottom. All right, I hope you guys were able to follow along and had fun. This is my first one, so just be patient. And so I am going to go ahead and sign in the bottom. And I hope you enjoyed it. Give a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more of my paintings, and I look forward to doing another one.